inspiration. A foundation still important today, the process of sharing words strung together that help point out the way, the many voices within each page. Turn pages from the past that resonate with you today. Turn pages today that create an escape within your mind. Turn pages that express the treasure within your tomorrow. Turn pages that hold a future for you to follow. We are turning pages.
Hi, my name is Alejandro Necochea, and I'm a doctor. I'm an internal medicine doctor, so I see adult patients, so people who are older than 18 years old, and I only see patients who come to the hospital when they're very sick. Besides doing that, I also do what is called public health, which is kind of like being a doctor, but instead of having just one patient, my patient is really an entire community or a group of people that have certain characteristics that join them together. And in order to do that part of my work, I get to use a lot of math, which is actually pretty exciting. I'm from Peru in South America. I grew up there, I was born there, I went to school there until I was 17, and then I came to the United States. But yeah, math has always been very important. Education has always been very important for my parents, my grandparents. It was almost like they expected us to just finish school, do well, and then go into the university. So that was always just like a given for us. But my first memory from math, I guess my first math memory from growing up was maybe just using a lot of different color pens and rulers and pencils to draw triangles and squares and doing a lot of things probably that kids still do these days. It was pretty cool to see that even back then a lot of what we did was just repetition. We had to do the same kind of problem over and over again until we got better, and then we could move on and do something a little bit more complicated. And I guess from that perspective, doing math, learning math is no different than learning how to play an instrument or getting good at a sport. You just have to train your brain to do something, to be better, and then you just keep getting better, just challenging yourself. Did I ever struggle with math? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about a book in a second. It's about this mathematician from Italy named Fibonacci. And he was certainly a genius. He was probably one of the most important mathematicians of the Middle Ages in Europe. And he was a genius, but most of us are not geniuses. So in order to do well in math, we really have to work hard. And in Peru, when you finish high school and you want to go into college, into university, you have to take a test. And when I finished high school, I took the entrance exam for probably the best economics university in Peru, and I didn't get in. I didn't get in by 1/4 of a point, so math can be really cruel sometimes. And at that point I learned that I really just had to, do something, right? So I could either just continue to be very disappointed, or I could just figure out how I could try to achieve my goal in a different way. So what I did was figure out how I could take the exam again some months later, and so I enrolled in a prep course. Basically, it was really challenging, and that's one thing that I remember very fondly from that period of time, is that it was very hard to do those math problems, but at the same time it was just very satisfying to look back and see where I started, and then look at myself like several months later and look at the kinds of problems that I was doing. So at the end of that period of time, I took the exam again and I got in. So that was really great. Okay, so in what I do, we use math all the time, to try to find out what is going on with our patients. We do lab tests, we do imaging studies, we ask patients about their symptoms, and then we try to distill all of that into what is going on with them so we can help figure out how to help them. One of the big important areas of math in what I do is actually helping us understand when there is good information being given to us so we can make good decisions. There's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of numbers out there, especially these days when there is so much social media and you can get information from a lot of different places. But how do you know that those numbers are really telling you what you think they are telling you? And I think math can help us do that. Okay, so the book I chose is called Blockhead, The Life of Fibonacci. Leonardo Fibonacci, he was a mathematician from Italy from the Middle Ages actually, and it says here, okay, so one day when I was just a boy, Maestro wrote out a math problem and gave us 10 minutes to solve it. I solved it in 2 seconds. That's the way I am with numbers. I have loved them since I was very little. Everywhere I looked in my parents' home, there was something to count. That day in class, the other students did their math on abacuses and wrote out their answers in Roman numerals. It was time-consuming, but that's how we did our math back then. As I waited for them to finish, I got bored. I counted 12 birds in a tree outside. How many legs did all those birds have? I wondered. How many eyes? How many wings? And if each bird sang for 2 seconds, one bird after the other, how long would it take all of them to sing? These were such beautiful questions that I started daydreaming. The reason I like that passage is because Fibonacci is using numbers and math to explain the world around him, the natural world that he was living in, and just find wonder in it, which was, I think is very, very beautiful. And that's not different from how we can use math now. We can use math to explain a lot of things that happen around us, from how a river flows, to the stars, to how plants grow, to even how we interact with each other as humans, or how things interact with each other in the world. So it is, from that perspective, things have not really changed. So keep working hard, challenge yourselves, do your best, and stay curious, and ask lots of questions, ask tough questions. And my name is Alejandro Necochea.